Good evening, one and all. So I appreciate all that you have taken your time uh, to attend this webinar conducted by ComedKares, and we are going to conduct this uh, we are conducting this webinar on how what is the path of an innovator, right? And we all know that innovation is not something that is born or like happens like an epiphany, but it is an innovator is actually built and bit by bit due to the experiences that one undergoes, right? And it's exciting, excruciating at the same time. But do we exactly know how this path are we traversing, right? Do you have any idea as to how somebody is actually going to become an innovator? What it takes to be an innovator, right? So we also have
different ideas.
Okay, that's a great response. So we would like to have even more responses like this, spontaneous and non-spontaneous as well, right? That would be more encouraging. So it's exciting to create new things and that others can probably imagine. But how do you actually come up to this, right? What is the intent behind it, and how do you create that mental space behind creating something that is different from what the others perceive, right? How do you come up with this, and how do you sustain it? So we have many more questions like that, right? So to answer those questions, we have a really well-esteemed guest with us today. I'd like to welcome Mr. Johnson Tellis, who is the program director of ComedKares uh, and the ComedKares and the co-founder and CEO of Inunity, and he's also the advisory panel member of KDEM. So I'd like to welcome Johnson sir to enlighten us as to how what it takes to be an innovator and basically the journey of innovation itself.
Yeah, thanks, Aftab. I think I know that a lot of people are commuting back to your houses. Some people possibly are already in your houses. Some people might be still wondering what's happening and they've just logged into this link. However, we will make sure that by the end of this 30 minutes, we have a lot to take back home, especially in terms of ideas that we're building, the whole notion about trying to bring a change through the creative stuff that you build. So before I go ahead, I just want a quick heads up on how many of you guys are still listening to me, and then how many of you have just muted me and kept the phone aside and then have just eloped. Can I just have you guys in chat? If you are listening to me, can you just say yes, yes? Can you just chat and say yes? Ah, cool. Yes, thank you, Kusuma, Sampath, Varshini, Nakul, Karthik, Noor. Okay, great. So you guys are all there. Okay, so occasionally I would.
I mean, we want the chat box to be spammed.
Right. So occasionally I would also love to have you guys responding to me. You can unmute, you can turn on your video. But if you're talking to me, please turn on your video. Otherwise, I would not be able to make out who it is. So let's quickly dive in. So before we even start with the whole journey or the path taken when I don't want to keep it more academic, so I'm not going to give you a lot of gyan here. I'm going to be very specific on the journey that is taken. I'll just show you some 3 slides, and then I will give you some stories of folks with whom I have worked and the student that I've mentored, and then their journey about one of the projects that we had mentored. They have raised 3 crores fund. The other project that we have mentored, they are on the verge of getting about 17 companies into their kitty. And at the same time, there's also another company which has already got funds of about 30 lakhs of grants. And then they have really well established themselves. So I'm going to give you these quick stories, and then I will also tell you the background that they come from, how they were once, like all of us, just listening to some of these talks or, being inspired, but they didn't know how to take that entire journey. But then they had some of these things done right. Some of the processes that they had followed were just right, and that set them onto this whole journey of being an innovator. So before I start with their journeys, I just want to quickly again want to have a heads up. I believe that you know those emoticons that you can click on. I just want you guys to tell me how many of you in this crowd would already have an idea, or you guys are thinking of an idea. So you can just go to the more button, and then if you have an idea, just give a thumbs up. Yeah, Aftab, you need to check who are those people who are unmuted, so you can mute them if they're not intentionally talking. Harshit, I know that you have an idea, so just want to quickly check with others. Girish has an idea, great. Sanchit has an idea. Shivaraj has an idea, brilliant. Swaroop has an idea. Okay, rest of them are planning to have some idea. Diksha has an idea here. Okay, cool. Okay, interesting. So I know that a good percentage of the audience here have ideas. So let's quickly then dive into this. So which means I'm also assuming that during this discussion, you will ask me relevant questions and I would be able to help you out in taking the next steps. Okay, so let's quickly have the presentation up. So Hiteshi, if you're there, could you please share the presentation? Okay, so can anybody tell me what is an innovation? Again, very, very brief. If you can tell me what is an innovation according to you, can unmute or you can send that in a chat. I would read it from there. What's an innovation according to you? What's the simplest definition of an innovation?
Creating something new.
Creating something new. Okay, so just tell me if Edison invented the bulb, which was radically new invention, do you really think that it would have reached the masses? It would have succeeded on its own if you had just created the bulb. So is it only the bulb or something else that was the reason for it to get so well established? Today you can't possibly think of not having a bulb, right? So is it something? Is it creating new thing is the innovation, or is it something else added to it? Okay, how many of you say that bulb was the reason why, bulb was the innovation?
No, sir, it is an invention.
It is an invention. So what led it to become innovation? Meaningful solution in the pool of existing solution of problems. Great. That is brilliant, Hemant. Okay, so let me just put it this way. Imagine if during the time when Edison invented the bulb, there was no concept of electricity. Okay, there is no concept of propagating electricity from the area it was being generated. Do you really think bulb would have become such a big concept if there was no electricity propagated to houses? Yes, no?
Yes, sir, because when Edison invented a bulb, our world was using a DC current sources.
Correct.
So that's not a big problem.
Correct. So if electricity was not there, then possibly bulb would have just become a great invention, but it would have not taken off, right? So the whole concept of innovation is how do you bring invention to masses? Okay, that's the fundamental definition of innovation. Okay, how do you bring invention to masses? There are a lot of people who create inventions every single day. Look at some of the companies like Samsung or Wipro or any of these companies. They create about 2,500 to 3,000 patents every year. That means a lot of new things they build every year, but not all of that is brought to masses. Okay, so the things that you bring to masses is what is called an innovation. So the whole idea is when you come up with something radically new, which doesn't exist, or perhaps it exists, but what you have figured out is something adding a lot of value, then you will also have to think about how do you make sure you bring it to a cost that is available to masses. Let me give another example. How many of you are from a time where you have had this internet of 100 MB for $100? Raise your hands. How many of you have had this? You were born in a time where, I remember those days. Yes, 100 MB was for 100 rupees, whereas today you have the same 100 rupees, you get almost 1 GB. Now imagine, YouTube was a great invention, right? A video streaming platform was absolute delight for a lot of people who wanted to share contents over video. It's a great delight. But YouTube wouldn't have reached the masses if the internet cost wouldn't have come down. Agree?
Yes, sir.
So if it has to be democratized, today everybody watches YouTube. Either you are watching shorts, or you are streaming videos, you are watching live, or any content that is available in the world, you are trying to access that using YouTube. Only because internet became cheap. Otherwise, you would have selected the videos today, and you wouldn't have this whole concept of creators economy. What is creators economy? A lot of people you see today, the celebrities like, let's say, Bhuvan Bam, who he became a celebrity from his reels and Instagram videos and so on, who suddenly became such a big star because his content that he created was made available to millions and millions of his followers who were following him in YouTube and Instagram. So a lot of these creators are popping up from various parts of the country today just because internet became really, really cheap. So the whole concept is, how do you come up with an invention but make it available to masses? And then because of that whole aspect of either bringing the cost down or creating the product so viable that millions and millions of them can use it, the person's whole aspect of wealth or building the organization pops up. So yeah, so that's the whole journey that I'm going to explain it to you, and I'm going to quickly take 3 examples, and then I'm going to give you an understanding of what stages that they are in, and then how you can also come up with ideas that can help you to reach that stage. Cool? Yeah, next slide. Okay, so quickly giving you an understanding of how how do products usually die. Okay, so every psychology says that you are bombarded with about 80,000 thoughts every day, out of which less than 5,000 are thoughts which make sense, and a lot of other things are just random distractions, etc. And which basically means, even if you consider 10 thoughts are really creative, it means that 10 ideas you are getting every single day. And then possibly you might take one of those ideas and then start discussing with your friends. So these are all open-ended conversations that we have on a day-to-day basis. You might take an idea, you might say that in the initial stance, I have $1 billion idea, this is going to change the world. And then you might go and start discussing with your friends and so on and so forth. You have open-ended conversations. But then you will go for the second stage. Somebody might say, your idea seems to be good, but do you really think it is useful? So you will go and start doing certain calls with the customers and try to see whether it makes sense to them as well. And then the third stage, maybe 1 or 2 customers that you spoke to might really say, brilliant idea, and you now want to get some numbers right before you eventually go on starting to build that product. So you will take a quantitative survey. How many people out of 100 people that you've targeted would be wanting to have this kind of a solution, who might be interested in this kind of solution? You might go to the third stage, that is called quantitative surveys. From there onwards, you might actually start in the whole journey of building your solution. Now here, my friends, is where the problem lies. When you build a solution, your first solution is definitely not going to be the best solution, which means you will have to do a lot of iteration. Maybe you come up with the first solution, it might be completely rubbish. When you go and ask the customer, when you're going and selling it to a customer, the customer might not feel delighted about your product. So you might go to the second stage. You might go to a revision of it. You might go to the version 2, version 3, version 4. Now, during these versions, when you are redesigning or developing as per the customer's expectation, you need somebody to keep funding you. But this is where, if you don't have the necessary funds, your solution usually dies. So we call this as valley of death. But people who can overcome this valley of death, which means they have funds, they have the necessary expertise, they have the team, all of this. So these are basically 3 things: money, that is deep pockets, domain expertise, that means the field that you're trying to work in or you're providing solution, you need to have a team that really knows how to build it, domain expertise. And the third one is network. How can you get your first 10 customers? So domain expertise, deep pockets, and network. If you're having these 3 things right, then you can actually come out of the valley of death. That means you will not die with your product will not die. But you can actually go for the next stage of usability testing. That means you go and test with a lot of other customers, and you will start getting revenue from them. So this is basically what we call it as product discovery value of death, which means when you're trying to discover the product that really fits the customer, if you don't have the backing, you usually get stuck in the value of debt. That means you keep spending your money figuring out what that product should be, and before you actually figure out, you might not have any more money to go for the next stage. So next slide. So if that is clear to you, I just want to highlight on the next aspect, that is in that whole aspect of discovery of what product should you build, and then you start going on to develop that product. You can see that in the second row, you can see that there are a lot of such stages that needs to be done. You discover, you develop, again go and test, you again discover, again develop, and then again go and test. So you have so many versions that you will create before you actually go and launch it in the market. That means you make it publicly available to everybody. So that is the reason why a lot of us, even when you're in college, you actually go for raising funds. Now, for a lot of folks who don't know, who might think that, okay, this is something that is not meant for me, let me remind you that a lot of funds are available today from the government. So the quick 3 examples that I'm going to give you are basically the stories of how they got the fund and how they went about this whole journey. Okay, so next slide. So if you are able to go out of this value of debt, which means, let's say, for example, initially when you do your research, if there are research grants, if you are, doing, you're building that product, if you have grants to develop, we call this as idea to prototype stage. If you have somebody who can give you that money, and in the initial stages, when you're going out to the customers to check whether this product is really useful for the customers, if your friends and family can give you this initial set of money, and you are able to build that product to a stage where customers are initially showing interest, they are buying it from you, then you can go to the next set of investors. We call them as angel investors, who can give you somewhere around 10 lakhs to 1 crore. And then they will fund you during your to build that team, to build that capabilities, expertise, etc., so that you can build that product faster and reach a larger customer base. And there onwards, either you can use the money that you get from the customers and build your company, or you can go for something like venture capitalists, private equity funds, and so on and so forth. So you might have watched Shark Tank, and you might see a lot of people, they talk about these numbers that my product is being used by 100 customers, 1,000 customers, I had initial set of revenue, etc. So, and then based on that numbers, sharks actually give them that check. So these sharks are called early stage venture capitalists. So which basically means they give you a check of anywhere from 50 lakhs to 1 crore, and then they will help you to go through that stage where you can increase your customers and then make more revenue out of it. So this is basically how you see that once you come out of the value of debt, that is, you have done enough testing and you have figured out what the product should be. From there onwards to building your own company, these are different stages that you will go through. Okay, so let me give you a quick example. Here's an example of Navjit, who built this whole product called as headphones, but he has named it as eargasm headphones. It's basically because for a lot of people who are really interested in high bass music, the products that are available in the market are super expensive. So he has built an entire headphone, which if you wear, you can not just hear the sound, but you can also feel the sound. That means you will feel a lot of that bass around your ears. And he has built that entire product like that. Initially, when he, do you have the next slide? So initially, when he built this headphone, he did not have any clue of building a headphone per se. So he went around building a helmet, okay, a helmet in which he would put the speakers and it would allow the riders to listen to the navigation, okay. And this he mostly focused on, in Bounce or in Zomato or even in Swiggy. They could wear this helmet and they could know where to go from the navigation assistance that was being given from the phone. Now from there to going to the next stage of building the headphones, he had to do a lot of tests. So the first thing that he did was, during his college days, he applied for a science fund, and he got the first 4 lakhs from the National Science Foundation, where they loved this project, and that smart helmet that I was talking about, they loved the project and they gave him the 4 lakhs fund, from which he was able to build the whole concept of the smart helmet. But when he was building the smart helmet, he realized that the sounds that was in the smart helmet was liked by a lot of people whom he gave the smart helmet to. So from there, he thought, why don't I build the headphones altogether? So he went to the second stage where he started building the headphone, and he presented to, again, a government agency called Elevate. There he got the funds up to 18 lakhs to build it. So he built the first two headphones, which was as good as something that you get from Sony or you get it from Bose. And then he made that two headphones. He went around giving it to a lot of highly influential people. One of them were, I wouldn't disclose, but they were a large YouTube band with more than 10 million followers. So he gave it to them. They liked it so much that they came forward saying that I would want to invest in this product. And like that, just with these two products that they built, they went around testing it with so many other investors, and the investors loved the product. Today, they have raised 3 crores fund to manufacture the first 5,000 units, and they are now going and selling it from April. So that was the whole journey of this whole headphone, and it is called Sonic Lamb, and you can go and check in their website, SONICLAMB, Sonic Lamb. Here's the next story that I want to next story that I want to give you is about educational product called Dream Kit. Now you can see here that the first Dream Kit that they built was for their own engineering project. So while they were in 3rd year and 4th year, they came up with this modular electronics kit, which the kids could assemble, and then they could build projects out of it. But why would they build it? Because they were going to a lot of these schools and helping them to understand STEM education. So they were helping them to build this kit, robotics, projects that they were making sure that the students were building, but students are finding it really difficult to build the project. However, once they realized this, they went around building their own small modular electronics, and they started teaching the same thing to the students. Students loved it. But from 2016 to 2019, they were having a lot of iterations in their product. Now, for every stage, as I told you, they needed some fund. So the first 1 lakh that they wanted came from some of the friends that they were associated with. So they gave them that fund of about 1 lakh, from which they transferred from whatever they built in the lab to a sophisticated fund. From there, once they built that prototype and they were able to explain it to a lot of other guests, they got the next 3 lakhs fund from something called as New Age Innovation Network, which is a government-sponsored innovation lab, which is available in 30 colleges today. So they got that fund from their own college because of that New Age Innovation Network, which was a government-sponsored. Because of that 3 lakhs fund, they were able to further build first 50 kits, and they went around different schools helping them to with the STEM education. Because of that, 500, 600 students who were using that kit, they loved that kit. Based on their feedback, they went ahead and pitched it to another grant called as Elevate, which is a Karnataka government's business pitch competition, which happens every year. Even right now, it is happening in the month of April. They got the first seed fund of 25 lakhs. And that money they used to build that entire company, hired their first 4 employees, and they built that entire kit, which now is being used by hundreds and hundreds of students. So that was the whole journey of Dream Kit, right from their taking it as a final year project to using some funds to build better and better versions of their product, all the way till building a company today, which right now is having about 11 people and addressing about thousands and thousands of customers. They have built that entire journey. This is the story of Dream Kit. Next slide. Okay, this is, So then the third example I would want to give is of a student who's still in the he's now in the final year. He went around, searching for problems in his own vicinity, and he found that MSMEs were finding it very difficult to manage their resources. So he went around speaking to cashew industry, because cashew industry is very famous in Mangalore. They were finding it difficult to bring all their resources, their cashew, how much cashew is coming, how much cashew is leaving their factory, how much of it is getting processed, how much is in the process, etc. A lot of these complex processes that were happening within the industry, they were not able to digitalize. There were no digital platform. So he went around. What you can see in the left is the first version of the prototype that he built, where he went and said, this is something that I feel that will solve your problem. He went and spoke to the owner of the industry. The industry guy said, okay, this is something brilliant, I would want to try it out. And he went ahead building the product with his own set of friends, 4 people, who were his classmates. He built that product. He gave back to the industry. He got his first 4 lakhs from the industry itself, from which he hired one more person. He started building a better version of it, and then again went and sold it to the next customer and the next customer. Today, he is having his own company called as Affinity, where he building customized ERP solutions for these local MSMEs and the Kirana stores. Very interesting to see. He's still in his final year, but he's already employed 4 people. He's also getting his salary while he's still studying, and he is doing these products, which is helping a lot of industries. So I would want to stop here with these 3 examples, just to help you understand that the whole journey of building an innovation stems from trying to solve a problem and then constantly approaching people who would be willing to support you. And luckily today, you have so many folks, government agencies, and there are people who are only supporting student ideas like campus funds, etc. There are a lot of funds available today, who, if you project a value that you are trying to create based on your ideas, they are willing to give you those grants. A small token size of 50,000, 1 lakh, all the way till 5 to 6 lakhs. And then if you prove that your product actually works, they would further help you to fund it to a larger stage, up to 20-25 lakhs. All that is happening within the within our state of Karnataka. And then maybe by constantly iterating on your solution, you will be able to reach a stage where what you're building as a product might really be loved by a lot of people, and then you will be able to reach the masses. So that's the whole journey of an innovator. So I would stop here, and I would love to take questions from you, what you have understood, what you have not understood, if there is some element that I can further elaborate on. So would love to take questions from you.
So yeah, anybody who is willing to ask questions to Johnson sir can switch on their cameras and directly ask, or if not, you can also post your questions in the chat, which me or Johnson sir will read out and
and don't hesitate when you're asking questions. Please don't hesitate whether your questions are going to be really thought-provoking or not. Don't worry about it. Just shoot your questions. I've asked a lot of questions to all my mentors before I've got clarity in my own journey. So please feel free. You might be in different stages. You might have an idea, but you might be in a different stage. You might not know how to progress. You can post that question as well, and it might be useful for other students who have joined in this session.
Johnson sir, I actually have a question, right?
Sure.
So the headphones that were made by Mr. Prashant Karkera were actually started from an idea of a smart helmet, right? That was the inception of the idea.
Correct.
Will I be constantly funded if in between my idea kind of changes? Like from a helmet to a headphone is a drastic change, right?
Right.
So I started out with a helmet, and now I'm ending up with a product like a headphone. So what are the pitfalls, or what are the challenges that are likely to be faced when I'm going through an idea change during my iterations, is my question.
Right. So if you look at the whole aspect of how grants are usually given for a particular idea, which means if you are building a smart helmet and if somebody has given you a grant, okay, grant is something that it's a money that you don't have to repay anybody, but it is a money that is given to see the completion of an idea. Okay. So if the grant was given for you to complete smart helmet, they would expect you to complete smart helmet. In fact, they did complete smart helmet, right? but it is understood for everybody that the whole aspect of building a product will have a lot of phases in which you will change the product, right? So knowing that, for example, Facebook was not Facebook, right? It was something else. It was initially it was a music streaming platform, which was similar to what Netscape had built, but the issues that was there with the privacy. So Netscape kind of got bust, and then so did the the music streaming platform that Mark Zuckerberg had built. And post that, because he knew how to build a music streaming platform, he was also able to kind of reiterate on this de-Facebook kind of, or hot or not kind of a model, right? Where he posted all the pictures of his own classmates, lady classmates, and they asked the guys to actually check whether they're hot or not. And from there, people were very willing to come forward, put their profile, and then vote, right? It was kind of like the early Tinder, we can say. But then from there to coming to Facebook, and then eventually becoming Facebook, to what it is Meta today, you know that the people have constantly evolved on the initial solution. So everybody knows it, that when an innovator is going through the journey of finding the product that can reach the masses, there will be a lot of iterations. So when the grants are given, of course, they are giving it to complete a particular project. But when you have figured out that this project might not work, and you have got something that is better, you can always ask for more grants for the new project, and you can justify why you are choosing this new project and not continuing with the past project. So even for example, when somebody gives you a seed fund, let's say you have thought of a product, but you want to go through iterations. It's not a completely drastically new product, but you want to go some variations in your existing product, and the variations could be more than 50%. Okay. For example, in the case of what Shobit built, Shobit initially went for a full-fledged ERP solution, but then eventually he moved on to saying customized ERP solutions. It is not a complete change, but it was similar. It was a small pivot in the existing category itself. Pivot as in he changed a couple of things in the existing category. So you need to justify. Somebody who has given him first 5 lakhs, they would definitely ask, why are you changing this whole plan? You said that you are building a full-fledged ERP. Why are you going to customized ERP? So he has to justify it. The reason why I'm building this customized ERP is because a lot of my customers that I've spoken to are asking for customized ERP or a no-code ERP, and therefore I would want to go with this architecture. And if you're able to convince those folks who has given you the initial investment, there will be no issues. So yes, so you can always change from the product A to product B, product C, product D, provided you are going to grow. And it is not continuously that you're changing. If you're continuously changing, that means you have no clue of what you're trying to build, right? But if you are changing with a mindset that you are going to grow your customer base, you have figured it out from your past mistake, and this time you are going to build something that is going to be really useful. And if you are going in that growth stage, obviously yes. And there is nobody, take any story for that matter, there is nobody who has built his first company that has gone to scale. Nobody. Okay, all those products that you see today are iterations of some or the other versions. Any big company that you see, you would see that they have either failed in their past projects, or they have sold their company for a relatively smaller amount. And based on that learnings that they have got and the funds that they have gained, they were able to build the second, third, and the next set of products and companies. In the layman perspective, how would one differentiate real innovation, clever marketing that claims to have innovative solutions? You can also say marketing as an innovative way of trying to convince the customers that their solution is great. But the real innovation is where even after real innovation, innovations are innovation, but real innovation which really caters to the needs of the customer does not need a lot of marketing. Okay, so I don't want to name some of the companies, but let's just pick it up. There is this drug company, of course I can name it. The company is called Theranos, and Theranos claimed that people who don't know Theranos was a $10 billion scam. Okay, so Theranos built they claim to have built an innovative machine which can pick your blood sample, and then it can diagnose that blood sample for about hundreds of different diseases that one might encounter. Okay, so that was the blood sampling machine. So they raised enough money, about I think $1 or $2 billion at a $10 billion valuation they had, claiming that they have figured it out. But when you went back and checked their product, it was just a scam. They were just trying to hype it up. The founder made a lot of money, and then eventually she had to go to the jail, right? So that's a very nasty way of raising money and then doing things. Of course, eventually when the product comes to the market, and if the market does not accept that product, then that is your true test of innovation. So that is why in the cases that I've spoken to you just now, I have always said that they have started with the problem from the market. They have gone at various level back to the customers and checked, do they really like it? Do they really appreciate that product? Are they willing to pay for your product? And based on what they have received as feedback, they have got more funds, they have built on top of it and top of it. And usually these funds are brought to build the team and the capabilities of manufacturing a larger number of products so that they can reach the larger mass. And it is very less that they would get these funds to think of what product to build. Okay, let me give another example. There is a large edtech company, which I don't want to name, but you might figure it out, that they do a lot of marketing, right? And because of this marketing that they do, they get a lot of students enrolling into their program. But when the marketing is stopped, you would see that there are not many people that would come back to their product. So that's not a innovation. It is disruptive, which means they came up with a new model of educating the students, but it was not really innovative in the sense, say, whether it really helped the people to enhance their knowledge, did it really add value or not? That is something that you need to think of. Because if the innovation is not really adding value to your life, when you're saying adding value, does the solution that you have innovated come at relatively lower cost? Like, for example, Jio came up with this whole internet plan. They said 10x lesser than the existing price. So can it really disrupt in terms of cost? Can it add great value to what you're doing? Think of the innovation at your own houses, right? Just think about that coconut peeling machine, right? So otherwise, how would you have peeled the coconut? You would have had to, break it with the sickle, or then you would have had to tear it open. But today you have a simple device. You go and just put it on the top of that coconut peeling machine, and then you just remove it, and then the coconut peels out. So look at those innovations, which is really adding, and it is there in everybody's house today, right? Think about Pepsodent as an innovation. The US military rejected a lot of US candidates because their oral health, their teeth were not in good shape. Okay, and that was a reason for rejection of a lot of military candidates because of the oral health. So Pepsodent came up with a whole new concept that we will make a paste which all that you have to do is you have to brush your teeth. You have to brush your teeth. That's all that you have to do. But people would not make that as a habit. So what they came up with is a fluoride paste, and they put a little tint of mint in it and a little oily fluid in it. So when you brush your teeth, what it is only creating is a foam, and it is the action of brushing that is really cleaning your tooth and nothing to do with the paste. But that paste had mint, which gave you a good feel in your mouth after you have brushed. When you pour water, it gives you that a nice feeling when you have brushed. And also after you have brushed, there is a oil layer on your tooth. So when you smile and check in the mirror, it kind of gives you that sparkling feel. So that was the whole innovation that they brought in to promote brushing as a habit in US. So think of all these examples, and they're not extravagant, or they're not out of the world. But these are things that are used in the day-to-day lives, and that is why it is being used by masses. And today, all these FMCG industries which are having paste or whatever, right? They are such a big business today. So you can pretty much differentiate between real innovations which really add value to people versus innovations that are purely hyped or marketed by the consumption or adoption of consumers. Is it going to only be used by people and then eventually be left out when the marketing stops, or is it still going to? Marketing is needed obviously in the initial days to kind of make people aware of the product, but eventually it has to sustain on its own, sheerly by the value that is creating to the people.
We also have one more question from Sanchit, and how do we make product development faster, and how to set a team based on skill sets? So which is all.
Yeah, so there is no shortcut for how do you develop the product faster. Of course, you have all these earlier the products were being developed. There is a lot of research that you need to do. Then you had to go and build that, you have to, make compost, you have to make those dyes, and then it was very capital intensive, which means even if I had to make just one part, I had to make an entire dye for it. And then I make that product and then go and test whether it is really working in the market. But today you have all these rapid prototyping tools, right? Like 3D printers. You don't have to build a website today. You can build an entire website just using an Adobe XD or Figma kind of a models. Or there are, Google's website platform where you can build a quick website and go and check with your customers. So a lot of the software and hardware tools that are available today, which we call it as rapid prototyping tools, are available today for you to help in this whole aspect of product building. And it comes at 1/100th of a cost. You don't have to spend 10 lakhs on a die. You can make the same product using a 3D printer at 1,000 rupees, right? So that's the whole aspect of rapid prototyping, which you can certainly bring into. The second aspect is the whole aspect of design thinking, right? So design thinking, or we call it as customer-centric design thinking, is a process in which instead of earlier we had this waterfall model where we used to build a product for 6 to 9 months before we actually go and check it with the customers. But today you have something called as agile and design thinking, where you tend to build a part of the product and go out in the market within less than 1 to 3 months, and then see how the customers are responding. So you don't have to wait for 9 months before your product is actually being tested, but you can do that within the first 1 or 3 months and save a lot of money. If the customers didn't like it, you can reject it and you have saved 6 months of money. Or if the customers liked it partially, but they're telling you changes, you can do those changes and you can go for the second release and the third release. And subsequently, by the 9th month, you have a product that customers absolutely love. So either you can use rapid prototyping tools to cut down the whole cost, or you can bring in these processes like design thinking and agile design for you to cut down the whole time that is required to build the product.
We also have one more question, John sir. It's like, how can we get funds to build the product? And then what happens if the idea doesn't work? Right?
Okay, nobody is going to penalize you for not having an idea. In fact, one of the things that you should do, Aftab, is encourage all these students to come to ComedKares Center, because you get to use all those machines for absolutely throwaway price, right? You get a whole membership of 6 months for just 1,500 rupees, and you get to use all these machines, which cost about 2.5 to 3 crores to build your ideas, etc., for absolutely no additional cost. So students should come to these places, and these places are not going to question you about your ideas. They're just going to give you that platform. These platforms are going to celebrate your failures. That means tomorrow, even if you if you build that idea, but if it doesn't work, that's okay. We will encourage you to do more. So places like these are absolute must for people who are trying their first set of ideas. So I would encourage doing that. Second, a lot of funds that are available today, the government funds especially, are given to encourage people to have this whole aspect of design thinking and innovation. They're not going to penalize you for using their fund and building a product and not going to the market. Okay, they believe that if you do it once and if you have caught that bug of building a product, you will never stop. You will never stop until you get your answers, right? So that is the whole aspect of giving these funds. So nobody's going to penalize, even if you don't finish. If you obviously they will expect you to finish your product, but even if the product doesn't work in the market, that is okay. Nobody's going to hold you accountable for that, with the belief that realization or that whole experience that you have got of building a product, you will use it to build the next set of products.
Yeah, we also have a question by Deeksha J, which is really nice. And like she says that she has an idea, but it is not small or basic idea, right? It's large and it's really large scale. How do I proceed with it? Should I wait till I expand my knowledge in the future and then look out for investors? So like,
yeah, so there is no it is not going to be like if you sit today and wait for the time to come, the idea is not going to form, right? The solution is not going to form on its own. That means we have to continuously work. What out of the bigger idea, right? What is that part of the idea that you can build right now, which you can go and sell? Just let me give an example. What we have is an iPhone today, iPhone 13. Do you really think in 2003, when Steve Jobs thought of releasing iPhone, or rather even before that, when Steve Jobs came up with this whole idea of iPods, which was the whole digital version of Walkman. Do you really think that he thought of iPhone being this whole, video or photo, prodigy kind of a thing? No, right? So it was built over a time. iPhone was there, then iPhone 4S came, 5S came, 6S came, 9, 8, 10, 13, 14, and so on and so forth, right? So you see, they took a lot of time to evolve their product. And what we have today is a whole ecosystem. It's not just iPhone that people love. It's the whole market space, right? It's the app store, great applications that are available in the app store, which you can download it in your iPhone. It is the whole ecosystem. I can do a lot of things in my iPhone, but at the same time, I can do it in my Mac, I can do it in my iPad, and so on and so forth. So it's a whole ecosystem that they have built, which was not there back in 1993 when they formed the company, or 2003 or 2004, but it is now in 2023 that it is made available. So you might have a big idea, but what you have to see is, what is that smallest thing that I can build right now, which I can sell it to the customer, make money, and use that money to build the second, third, fourth, fifth, and nth number of version progressively before they recognize me for the whole ecosystem. But if you wait for the day, that means, okay, maybe after 3 years I will figure it out. Time is running. If you are not thinking, we are in India itself, we are about 1.56 billion population. We have overtook China, and the whole population in the around the world is going to reach 7 billion. So if I have thought of that idea, I am 100% sure in some other part of the world, somebody else is also thinking that idea. So why waste time? Come to centers like ComedKares, where you can start building these solutions. People will help you to build those solutions in a smaller format. Go and test it with the customer, get that whole experience of building that product, and step by step go on enhancing your product. You might not have the perfect team today, but trust me, I have gone through that phase. If you don't have a perfect team today, you will eventually have a product, because people will start believing in what you're trying to do. When you initially go out and say, this is the product that I want to build, I want to make a dent in the universe, people might think you're crazy, and they might not join you for what you're trying to do. So you will have to show a lot of proof. You have to show credibility. So you might start your journey single, maybe for the first 6-9 months, but eventually you will be joined by a lot of people who will believe in your product. So yeah, heard about drop shipping and affiliate marketing. Will they work if we start them as a side hustle? So if you're thinking about building a product as a side hustle, why not? If you have a stable job, you are getting revenue from it, you're getting money from it as a salary or a fixed wage, etc. You can always start things as a side hustle. And when you are absolutely sure, this is mostly done by people who have commitments at their house. Maybe you come from a lower middle class family, or you have a lot of responsibilities on your shoulder. Your sister is getting married, or your parents are sick, or you don't have a house of your own, and parents have a lot of dreams about having a stable house and so on and so forth. So a lot of responsibilities might be already on your shoulder, and people might be expecting things from you. So it is always good to have a financial plan. So whatever I have recommended, I would recommend you to do these things in your college at an early stage, maybe when you are in second year and so on, so that you get your seed fund, you get to test your products, etc. Even if you don't get your product out there in the market, I am damn sure that you will get a brilliant job offer because of the experience that you have gone through. So please do consider of creating a product while you're still in college. Now, let's say you have a product, but you're not very sure of going into the market and trying to build it all by yourself. You take a job, but try this as a side hustle. Keep building on it. Try to see it whether things can scale in the market, and eventually you can. When you know that there is a stable income coming from your side gig, you can take that as full time. I'll give an example of Adafruit. Adafruit is a company which was started by I forgot the name. So this lady who started Adafruit in her dormitory when she was still pursuing her studies. She started making small circuits or sourcing components for people who loved building projects from her own house, from her own dormitory of the college. And slowly, people started liking the project and the content that she gave and how she helped students to build projects. And slowly, she put a website of hers. Again, she started sourcing more open DIY kind of kits and so on and so forth. Today, it is one of the largest DIY industry, but it took her about 15-20 years to build that. It was not done something that like overnight, but she built it over time, and today is one of the largest DIY sourcing company from US, and the revenue is somewhere touching about, I think, 200 to 300 crores now. So yeah, that's how you keep on building, either as a side hustle, or you can take it as a full time. But for full time, please look at your financial backgrounds. Start early when you're in college. Even if you don't make it as a product, that experience of building the product can give you really, really good offers from the company. So if you wanted to do something in coding, but you have a lack of coding, first thing you got to do is find out who is really good in coding in your own class or in your college. Try to somehow convince. If you really believe what you're trying to build is going to be great, you should be able to convince that other person to collectively help you in building that code. Now, let's say if coding is not something that you are good at, but you still want to try out this product, there are a lot of no-code platforms today where you can build the entire product without having any code written. So you can use those no-code platforms or open source platforms, and you can test your product with the customers that you're trying to reach out to. And upon validation, you can start making small money, or you can pitch it into business competitions, because you now have customers who are validating that they need such kind of a product. So you can go and pitch in business competition, get this 50,000, 60,000 or 1 lakh cash prize. Get your friends now to help you build the product, and tell them that I'll give you a stipend of 5,000 or 6,000, and they would come and help you build this small project. And based on that, you can go to the next stage of eventually building better projects. Cool. Have you heard about, so I answered that. How can we get fund to build a product? What happened if the idea is not? I have already explained that.
One more question. So I have an idea. It's from Shivraj. So he says, I have an idea, but how to start things with it? Like how do I start working on it, or what should be my first step after I formulate an idea, or should I just go into telling my idea to someone else? Or so there are a lot of things when we get an idea, right? We just want to share the idea with everyone, but how do you first start about with it?
See, I would. A lot of people are very skeptical about sharing ideas, thinking that somebody else will copy. Trust me, nobody has the time and energy to try and test the idea that you are conceptualizing in your mind. So it is always good to go and talk to various people and don't talk to the people who are already in that sector, right? It might be just easy for them to pick that idea. But if your idea is something that can be easily picked by people, don't even start building it. Because even if you go out and sell your product, somebody else will pick it and do it themselves. So if it is too easy to be built, please don't build it. Okay, if you want to have an experience, please go ahead and build it. But if you feel that the product that you're building is a complex product, or it will take time for you to build that product, now go and talk to people and get their perspective too. When you hear a lot of perspectives, people might say that it already exists in the market. Then find out what is existing in the market. It's a great way to kickstart, to learn what are things existing in the market, what are the things that your product will offer, which is going to maybe totally different approach. For example, you might already get bananas and vegetables in your house. Why would you still buy it from grocers? Why would you still buy it from big baskets? Or why would you go for more or those kind of shops? Because they are selling you organic or chemical less food is what they're saying. I don't know how much of it is true, but because they're telling you that farm to fresh or there's this chemical proof, etc. You might be prioritizing your health over money, and that's why you're going and buying it from them. So even if you were sourcing market from your local vendors or vegetable mandis and so on, you would still go for these grocers, or you will go for these big baskets kind of models because you believe in what they are doing. So if your idea is really, really different, it is better to talk to people, get their perspective, understand what is there in the market, how you can differentiate as a product before you even start going and building that product. Once you have got a clarity of what you're trying to build, and you have a faith that people will use this product, first go and build a prototype even before you build a product, to get clarification for customers. Customers will not understand what you're trying to say. So go and show them what you're going to offer them and see what they respond to. We call this whole aspect as design thinking and prototyping. So you build your first prototypes, see it with the customers, whether they really love it. If they love it, then come back and start building it. So when you're building it, there are a lot of agencies who are willing to give you small funds to help you out if your product is really going to add value. get those funds. If they don't give you fund, it is understood that something is missing in your product. Go on improving it. These are all feedbacks for you to build a great product. So use that feedback, build a better version, go and pitch, you'll get more funds, and then you can eventually go and build the product. But anyways, for all these things, you need a lot of guidance, how to build it, how to go about building it, etc. ComedKares is a great platform for you guys to come. Please do come to the center and see how things are working. The ComedKares also has a lot of connections with government, a lot of private and government agencies who give grants. So they will be able to help you to build your pitch in such a way that you can have a better chances of winning those grants that can help you to build your ideas. And of course, a lot of mentors are available who can help you to facilitate through different stages of prototype building too. Again, you don't have to pay for that. It's a subsidized program, 1,500 for 6 months of membership, where you have programs, where you have workshops, hackathons, conferences, and a lot of mentoring and access to tools absolutely free for the next 6 months. So I think that's one place you should definitely come and explore. Right. So I think this could be the last question. I think we have already taken 1 hour now, 30 minutes more. Idea we have to build is already exist. We can continue, or is that a question, or is that a suggestion?
I guess it's more likely a question. So like it's mostly confused on like the idea in the field that they are trying to build is
if it already exists.
Exists.
Yeah, you don't have to be. Does it exist? So any product that is there out there, the market is huge, right? The market is so huge that you can always have a smaller share of the market. Just because there is a grocery store next to your house doesn't mean that it stops another grocery person to come and set up his store, right? Because he knows that the market is so huge that he can't cater to all the needs of that market. So somebody else will also come. So how big is the market? Can you also take a small pie of that market? If you want to really grow into a big business, then maybe you should think twice that such solutions already exist. But most of us do not have the appetite to grow such big. What would you do? I mean, it would be great for you guys to stay in Bangalore or parts of Karnataka and build a business that caters to your lifestyle. Maybe you might want to take home 20-30 lakhs per year. Okay, that's the business that you're building and you're happy with that and you're trying to do things that you really love. But at the same time, some people might have the aspiration not to stay in Karnataka, but they want to build a business that grows all the way in India. Now imagine when you are building it across India, you have to travel every day to all those places to check how the business is growing. So you need to really know whether it is something that fits into your appetite or not. And if the solution already exists, do you want to take a small pie of it or a large pie of it? If you want to take a large pie of it, then your solution has to be totally different from what is already available. And it has to create at least 10 times the value creation for your customers that you're targeting. If it doesn't, don't solve that problem, solve some other problem. It is worth it.
Thank you, Johnson sir, for enlightening us, and it was a great listening to you and all the stories that you told. It was more of awakening and a lot of introspection that needs to be done once you heard all of those things. And it also enlightens on us how to like the different methods and ways in which we can go for let it be as seed funding or who are angel investors and who are the big which particular investor comes in what point, and understanding the
value. But after honestly, nobody goes. I mean, I gave you a broader picture of what happens, but to be very honest, nobody goes with that plan in mind. They keep on building what they're really passionate about, and at various stages they encounter these things. When I started my journey 9 years back, I did not think of saying that, okay, I will meet my next angel investors in 3 months, 6 months. I have never thought of it. I went ahead building my product because I was really passionate about solving that problem, right? And then as and when I got stuck, I reached out to people and they gave me different inputs and I was able to solve that issue back then. So what I'm saying, all these folks, all these students who are buzzing with a lot of energy, don't worry about all the nuances that I spoke about. It is just for an awareness. What you should take home today is that there are so many people today who are wanting to help you build those innovations. The whole budget you see is more focused on youth empowerment, youth entrepreneurship, because the whole country is relying upon people like us to take the country to the next stage. And a lot of creative ideas are supposed to be emerging out from you. So there, keep one thing in mind. There are so many people, organizations such as ComedKares available for you to help you in that whole journey of building enterprises or innovations, or even helping you build a profile that can end up in bigger career. So when so many people are available, why should you be scared? People are not going to laugh at your ideas. People are going to encourage at your ideas. You should take that plunge of becoming an innovator.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. So with that being said, I would also like to you have said telling a lot about ComedKares, right? What we do and what all is in line for us, right? So that also is important as to state when we will be conducting webinars like these constantly and frequently, and this frequency will always be more efficient enough. And every weekends, like on the Saturdays and Sundays, we do conduct workshops wherein students can come in and use machinery and learn, build projects, explore their ideas, and do a lot of crazy stuff that we can only imagine to do during our learning days, right? So we are always looking forward to you students to come join us in there. We will be building together and get inspired by a lot of ideas and all of those things. So we also offer internship programs, which are dedicated 3-month courses, wherein you'll be coming to the center. We'll be mentoring you in some of the technical aspects, and then you'll be given case studies. You'll be meeting a lot of people onto the field, taking notes, coming back, doing iterations, coming up with something that is really innovative, not just for the sake of innovation, but actually what the community actually needs. And we have actually produced really good, more than 50 plus prototypes just by in the first batch of internship. And we would also like to do this in a much bigger level. So
absolutely. So I look forward to meeting a lot of you guys. Will host more of these.
So we all have centers. We have 8 centers altogether in Karnataka, 4 alone in Bangalore, 1 in Mysore, 1 in Gulbarga, Belgaum, and 1 in Mangalore. So if you guys are anywhere around these places, you can surely go and check out on us. You can also we also have our social media page. You can also check those out as well.
Yes, Aftab. So I will make a move.
Yes.
Thank you very much for hosting me, and thanks to all the student friends who have joined this quick session on Path of Being an Innovator. Looking forward to your journey and your stories too. Have a great evening.